Good morning, everyone. We are just currently dropping right now. I have my thumbnail wrong. It's fine. It's whatever. Am I even on the right thing? I'm probably not. All right, there we go. So we have Bitcoin at 104,500. I know my thumbnail says 105,000 because that's where we were when I was editing it literally a couple of minutes ago. It seems like just now you even see that in the live little starting soon screen that I have, that little dip. Matter of fact, I'll pull it up right now. This, right? You're seeing exactly this. It looks like massive, but it's really just a 0.34% drop. It's nothing really. Anyway, um I don't know, maybe something's happening. No, probably not. It's just a small correction. Doesn't really matter. Um so what has happened since yesterday? Literally nothing. You'll notice prices hardly moved, and similar deal with most altcoins, moving roughly 0 to 1% at the most. So quite an uneventful day because nothing happened between the Israel-Iran war. No nukes were sent. The threats were nothing, as I predicted. I've always just noticed this, right? That Iran will be all bark and no bite. They'll say they're gonna do something that you'll remember for centuries. I guess we're gonna remember that nothing happened for centuries. Maybe that is it. I'm teasing them a little bit. I really don't want them to actually like do anything crazy because we can't support that. Although I did see some the missiles are still ongoing, by the way. Like that's still happening. We are constantly getting reports, but it's getting kind of boring now. Like, okay, all right, another couple dozen missiles and suicide drones were sent. Okay, cool. What else is new, right? Just constant updates like that. We don't know for sure what exactly is going on. So as of right now, everything is fine. And we dropped from this high of 109,000. That's the highest point we have ever had in the most recent day for this week, right? This week I'm talking. Pivot levels. Yeah, really nothing is happening. Slowing down at this as a resistance, I guess, 105,000. That's going to be key for what we're going to have to break. Yeah, really, in terms of drops, I could see Bitcoin dropping maybe to here, but and in the event of something bad, right? A 3% drop for Bitcoin, that could cause like a 10% drop for alts. We've seen that happen before. That's fine. In terms of this actual resistance, though, in order for us to invalidate the downtrend and start heading higher once again, you're looking at 110,000 to be that level. So that's the point that I'm mainly paying attention to right up here. Okay, and you'll notice as well, I have two positions opened here. I was wrong with my Sui position. That was just a bonus thing. I don't really care. Um, wait, actually, I should have been right. I went long. Well, I guess it was in profit for past couple of hours, but then it just dropped over here. I should have went short, and I am going short on Arrow because Arrow is actually going up quite a lot today, 19-20%. I entered short right over here at this red candle, assuming that it would drop. Once again, I didn't fully follow my strategy, although, because I'm looking at the RSI. I'm expecting RSI to be overbought, but it didn't happen. RSI was overbought over here, which is around the same level, so I'm like, you know what, why not? I'll take advantage of that, but it seems like I was wrong. You should be paying attention to RSI before entering, because this RSI was valid, and you should have taken a profit over here with this 15% drop, 18% drop at the max. So that would have been, your first take profit on Arrow. And this time it's still increasing to make new highs. That's why I have a stop loss over here. Not a stop loss, sorry, a trigger order. And my stop loss, I guess, is my liquidation, which should increase a little bit higher after this gets filled first, ideally. Funding rates are not too bad. They're kind of bad. It's every 4 hours, and it's 0.17% so far. It's looking like I didn't even notice this. So I could pay $5-6. Okay, that's pretty bad actually. Within 2 hours, depending on what this percentage is, because the percentage can change constantly depending on the amount of longs versus the amount of shorts that are in the market. Right now, there's a lot of people who are shorting which would be good for me. That's why we're seeing a little bit of rejection over here, about a 2 almost 3% rejection, to start seeing this market drop. But this is a very volatile coin nonetheless, because you see that, you know, the movements don't seem like too much, but they're actually very significant, right? The price is in pennies. This does have a above 100 market cap, or below 100, I would say. I mean, like the 100 on the market cap list, right? Let me go get that right here and find it. I could probably find it manually. It's like over here. Watch me embarrass myself live. Great, I've embarrassed myself live. Arrow. It's number 85. Am I blind? 85. It's not even here. Am I crazy? ENS, Gito, Dex E. Aerodrome Fine. It's number 91. Why are you lying? But anyway, yeah, that's what we see right now. Community sentiment, of course, is super bullish because of its massive increase today. But you got to be fearful when others are greedy, so that's what I'm doing. And the reason why it's gone up, it has to do something with a Coinbase partnership mainly. It is integrating its base decentralized exchanges into its apps, June 13 to June 18. There's also just technical breakouts and a spike in volume from whale purchases mainly. So yeah, I feel like that's easy short position that I could take. I decided to do it over here. I kind of messed up though. I messed up the amount of money I wanted to put in. I wanted to start off with 500, but I put a whole 1,000 in here, so whatever. We're going in with 1,000, and I put my take profit down here. That should make me $540 minus, how many commission am I paying right now? 469, and this has already been open once. I paid 2 funding fees so far, and I'm about to pay a third one, because it's every 4 hours in the 4-hour chart, and it's also 4 hours coinciding with the perfect exact time, right? 2 hours 46, 2 hours 46, when I'll have to pay the next fee. It's not too bad. At least I'm not paying $100 like I was with this other position that I entered on bid. God forbid that I enter that ever again, right? Moving on, let's have a look at the other altcoins that are not having any movement, because that is so much fun. Ethereum's still holding on to this key level. 2,481 is considered its invalidation zone before it flips bearish. I feel like it's prone to break very soon, because we can still like dip to all the way over here, 2,400, and then from there, you know, we would still have this uptrend supporting us towards the upside. And based off of previous super trend flips, because it has been kind of lateralized and we did get a bearish one at one point, you could probably see a resistance at 2,600 for Ethereum. So that's what I would be paying attention for. Let's have a look at Solana, still doing its same thing. Yeah, like I said, really not a lot of movement. I could readjust this. We're still technically in an uptrend and validates at below 141. Resistances, I just have this zone laid out at 160 just for, you know, lateral purposes. Seems to be oscillating around that zone. What else do we got? XRP at 216, 0% movement. Solana actually had a 2% down movement, forgot to mention that. Still maintaining its tiny uptrend that it's got going on. I wouldn't rely on it too hard though. Depends on where we go from here, of course. We're still just waiting. The big news is still, will the United States get involved in this war? It seems like it won't. Some people say that they're going to get involved anyway because it's just an inevitability. Who knows at this point? Only time will tell. And, you know, we were expecting a little bit of volatility because of the Federal Open Market Committee meeting that we had today, where we would decide the Fed's interest rate decision, which it came in line with expectations, and really nothing much changed. I think we could review the projections as well. I'll get to that once we get to our news segment, though. But yeah, not a lot of movement here. SUI is still $2.82. We dipped to a low of 270, but good bounce off that area. Probably did mention this. I'll let this close automatically, right? It's probably going to close soon. When did I open this? It's a bonus position, so you don't really lose any money. Hello, when did I open this? I don't care. It's going to close anyway. It doesn't matter. It's going to close at a loss. The downtrend still prevails for SUI, so realistically just waiting to decide where we can put this uptrend, because that's going to be the one that will define the bull run. Right now that we are still dipping, we got to break out of whatever this is, which I feel like if we do oscillate down here for a while between this zone, 285 and 270, we could see a resistance at 311, 312. That's the resistance that we're going to have to break out of in order to head higher. To confirm a trend reversal, of course. Litecoin, still doing its thing, still in a downtrend as well. No clear uptrend for it. It seems like I'm always struggling to find an uptrend for Litecoin ever since we had our good high at 140, right? Yeah, ever since then, it's been difficult. These are not supports, though. These are resistances, so I'm going to have to remove that. I might as well just readjust fib levels, because we are in a downtrend. Where can we slow down? That is the important question. And it seems like, okay, it's still around the $80 zone, which I would expect to drop to. And Cardano is our last coin, down 1.90%. Price is 60 cents. We slowed down at this first resistance. I still have my trigger order there. It's still like a little bit lower here because I calculated it last week, averaging out this Fibonacci level and previous pivot level, which, I mean, it would have been like something over here, I think. So I had my trigger order like in the center, right over there, which of course it seems like it has not yet been executed. And I didn't want to recalculate the average between this fib and the current support level from pivots. Either way, like, it's just me buying a little higher. I'd rather buy a little bit lower, maybe around there. It's just me micro adjusting, though. It doesn't really matter. I still feel like it's going to get executed nonetheless. We are still on a downtrend, so it's very likely for that to happen. Yeah. All right. That's all we got for these coins. I do wonder where liquidation levels are. The liquidation heat map. What's more likely to happen? Are we going to break out upwards or downwards? And I'm going to go to a weekly chart. Not a weekly chart, but to see, you know, in the past week, what has happened, right? Seems like a lot of liquidations would be happening towards the bottom. Longs getting liquidated, that is, of course. It usually is that case, right? More longs would get liquidated than shorts, because when the shorts get liquidated, you kind of reset their area as to where they would start repositioning themselves, because Bitcoin just is supposed to go up forever. But the fact that it is going up forever, it means a lot of people are long, a lot of people are using leverage, and they're also more likely to get liquidated, which causes those sharp drawdowns in moments of some sort of a crisis, like a war going on, or Elon Musk fighting Trump. I don't know, right? Anything can make the price of Bitcoin drop just a little bit, and then you got this domino effect where it just cascades into a massive drop. And similar deal, of course, goes with altcoins, which people are a bit more reckless with, right? So that's another thing you got to pay attention to. We're looking at about a couple $1 million, hundreds of millions of dollars getting liquidated. And that's all the way to maybe 101,500. We can see a bit of a slowdown. It's going to be crucial, right? 101,500. And is that where we have our resistance? It is indeed. 101,800, right? So that just further supports my idea of, if we do see a drop, we're dropping over here. We can see a bit of a slowdown, depending on the severity of the drops, of course. That's what I would pay attention to, so just watch out for that. I do want to read as well what we got from Trading Economics in terms of the Fed interest rate decision, and also the economic projections. So I'll have those two open and ready, and we're going to discuss that right now. Let's go for it. So, spoiler alert, Federal Reserve decided not to cut or hike interest rates. Huge surprise. Nobody expected it. No, I'm kidding. Of course, there's a 99.9% chance that this was going to happen, and it happened, so no surprises. Fed Chair Powell says that inflation effects may take time to assess and he expects a meaningful rise in the coming months. This is the reason why he has not cut yet. He's still being very cautious as to the future of, you know, is the current economic situation in the United States going to increase inflation in the upcoming days? If yes, why cut interest rates now? It does not make sense to do so. That seems to be his reasoning, and I know a lot of people disagree with it. People, specifically Trump, wants Jerome Powell to cut those interest rates now. He argues stuff like, "Oh, we're at a 4-year low with inflation. It's been, we're still at levels when you guys increased rates back when we were in the middle of a crisis like COVID or something." So yeah, the Fed is still in watch mode, basically. I do want to read this as well. Okay, the left Fed rates, federal fund rates unchanged at 4.25 to 4.50% for a fourth consecutive meeting in June 2025, which was in line with expectations, as policymakers take a cautious stance to fully evaluate the economic impact of President Trump's policies, particularly those related to tariffs, immigration, and taxation. He did get an immigration question in there as well, by the way. In terms of tariffs, Powell had this to say. He blames Donald Trump, actually, for slowing the economy indirectly, right? He spoke about the tariffs slowing growth and causing increased prices. So that's just reinforcing his ideas of saying, you know what, maybe the tariff stuff is going to damage the economy. It's going to increase inflation, and I shouldn't be cutting rates if inflation is going to be on the rise. So we're just going to wait and see what happens before we start cutting. I feel like it's going to happen anyways. Like, markets were already projecting rate cuts always, so that's supposed to happen, but we'll see. Officials also noted that uncertainty about the economic outlook has diminished, but remains elevated. What? It's like the same as nothing. Despite this, the Fed continues to project 2 rate cuts later this year, so no big changes there. Although it anticipates only 1/4 percentage point in 2026 and 2027. So this means that, like, in the upcoming years, we're looking at years of outlook now, it seems like we're not going to get as much rate cuts as expected. We're still going to get our 2 rate cuts for this year, which the market was like, okay, that's fine. We're not going to move at all, and we have 0% in movement. But for the upcoming years, it's not looking that great. But I think, like, the yearly projections, like, really, who cares? We'll see what happens anyway. Like, we can't project that far anyway. We have to see how these tariffs actually play out during Trump's term. Midterms would also be happening by then. And, you know, everything will readjust by then, hopefully. In its updated projections, the Fed downgraded its GDP growth forecast for 2025. That is one change that happened, to 1.4%. It used to be 1.7% of a GDP growth rate. We're actually expecting less growth, so let's see if we can beat that. Hopefully so. Markets will rejoice if we are increasing our GDP growth rate for this year above 1.4%, right? For 2026, yeah, like I said, who cares? 1.6%, it was reduced from 1.8%. And while leaving the 2027 estimate unchanged at 1.8%. Okay, at least that's still the same. Unemployment rate is expected at 4.5% in both 2025 and 2026, which were lower before. We're now expecting more people to be unemployed. I think otherwise. I think tariffs are going to make more companies come to the U.S. Hopefully so. This is what Trump's ideals are. Have more companies come into the United States and creates more jobs for the people. That should do the opposite of unemployment. As for inflation, the Fed sees the PCE rate at 3.0% in 2025. So they're expecting inflation to increase. It used to be a 2.7% projection. Now it's 3%. Easing to 2.4% in 2026 versus 2.2%, and 2.1% in 27 versus 2.0%. Is this the exact same? Yes, it is. All right, cool. Moving on. What do we got? This is also mentioned. Just going to read a couple stuff. Fed omits line about risks of higher unemployment, inflation. Uncertainty about outlook has diminished, still elevated. Fed lowers GDP estimates. Inflation has been running somewhat above the goal. The current policy stance leaves us well positioned, so he sees no reason to cut rates, Powell. Near-term inflation expectations have moved up. Tariffs are the driving factor. Most measures of long-term inflation consistent with goal is what he says. For the time being, well positioned to wait before policy adjustments. And beginning to see some tariff effects already in the market data, I guess. So we should expect more. Can't assume that tariff inflation hit will just be one time. That's what he says. Fed projections have moved toward slower growth and higher inflation. Uncertainty peaked in April and has come down. The uncertainty, of course, being even that moment when they were about to have this emergency rate cut because everything was crashing, the recession was inbound because of the massive amount of tariffs that Trump put on Liberation Day, right? And what else we got? Likely we'll get to a place where rate cuts are appropriate. So he still sees that the rate cuts can still happen. That's what the market likes to hear. You can take time to show how large inflation effects will be. If you just look backward at data, you'd want rates closer to neutral. But we expect a meaningful amount of inflation in coming months. The labor market is not crying out for a rate cut. And yeah, that's practically it. Trump says that he will have a meeting in an hour on Iran-Israel, so that would have been 5 hours ago. Iran wants to come to the White House, and he may do that, is what he says. When he was asked about the Middle East, he said he doesn't want to get involved, says Trump. And that's a good thing as well. We don't want the United States to get involved. But Iran coming to the White House, I don't know about that one. I believe Iran would use nuclear weapon if they had one, says Trump. Possible that fighting necessary to block Iran nuclear. What? Yeah, anyway, moving on. Let's talk about, I guess, this whole Middle East situation. Or after this. Trump had a comment first on what Jerome Powell was going to do and the current situation with the FOMC. He called Jerome Powell a very stupid person, frankly, at the Fed. He probably won't cut today. Maybe Trump can be at the Fed. Maybe he can appoint himself, is what he says. I was just joking around, of course. And he says that, Powell refuses to lower rates. Trump says that he doesn't think Powell is political anymore. He just hates me. He probably should. I called him every name in the book to try to get him to cut, right? And that is true. He called him too slow. He's calling him stupid now. Yeah. But we do see Powell's true intentions. It's just like, okay, we're expecting, with all this economic data that we have gotten, that tariffs will be bad for the economy or not as good, right? So, he'll just take all the insults if necessary. Yesterday, Trump called for Iran to surrender unconditionally. Remember that? Iran's supreme leader rejects the U.S. demands to surrender. He says that Tehran isn't threatened by absurd rhetoric. He says that we will never surrender in response to the attacks of anyone. And he also put out this tweet saying that, the U.S. president threatens us. The threats, of course, I mentioned yesterday was, we know where you live. We know you're in that bunker and we have planes flying above you, but we won't kill you yet, is what Trump said literally in a tweet or a Truth Social post. I keep mixing those up. Just come back to Twitter, Trump, please. And also, Elon, change this back to Twitter. He demands that the Iranian people surrender to him. They should make threats against those who are afraid of being threatened. The Iranian nation isn't frightened by such threats. Once again, I think they are scared, and this is all just bark and no bite. Because they also threatened something back and nothing happened. Oh, be careful with tonight. We're preparing tonight. And there is also this, right? Iran is now allegedly preparing missiles for retaliatory strikes on U.S. bases if the U.S. enters the war. It's not likely to happen. At least that's what Trump says. Remember that also little drama that he had with Tucker Carlson, where Tucker was opposing, or I guess criticizing what Trump was doing with this whole situation. Trump says that he actually had a phone call with Tucker Carlson and apologized to him. And he also just reiterated the fact that he doesn't want to go to war with Iran. So how is the inevitability going to happen? Israel might drag the United States into the war somehow, right? Or maybe they make Iran provoke get provoked, I guess, and attack the United States first, so that then the United States has to also respond, and that's just going to lead to World War III conflict. But these guys are pretty good at usually at de-escalating, so, you know, I'm currently taking everything with a grain of salt. Putin, though, he's still, you know, I guess, showing his support for Iran once again, saying that they have the right for peaceful nuclear activity and that they also will intervene if in the conflict if the United States becomes directly involved alongside Israel and Iran. Similar deal with North Korea. I'll just reiterate this point again. They're warning the United States and the European Union against joining Israel's war with Iran. So it seems like the big boys, all of us, United States, Europe, North Korea, China, Russia, they're just saying, hey guys, let's not enter this war and let's just let these two guys fight it out, Israel and Iran. We'll even try to help them make a peace deal if necessary. That seems to be the stance of the whole world watching this Middle Eastern conflict. And let's just hope that it stays that way, right? Not that the war stays, but like hopefully they get a peace deal solved or resolved or whatever. But just that everybody just watches from afar and doesn't want to jump in and get involved. So let's just hope that is the case. Anyway, enough about Israel-Iran war updates. War updates. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says that nearly 70,000 people have signed up for the $5 million Trump Gold Card, which totals $350 billion in commitments. If you recall, this was a concept that was introduced, and it just gives you free entry into the United States, where something, as long as you work here, you get this card. I don't know, something like that. And it also helped generate revenue for the United States. I mean, they just got $350 billion for free by letting people in the United States, whereas, you know, illegals enter for free anyway. So get them in the country legally, they pay this, and they're allowed in the United States. It's a pretty interesting concept. And it's working. Crypto czar David Sachs says that the crypto bill is very close. So let's just hope that is the case. Tether also minting 1 billion USDT. That's also bullish. What are you going to do with 1 billion USDT? You're going to buy assets, right? And we usually see a pump in the market after that. That could be some good news. I don't know if the pump's going to happen immediately. It doesn't have to happen immediately. Just look at, you know, things like global M2 money supply. There's always an offset as to, you know, money supply increasing in the world. And then the amount of time it takes for that money to start flowing into risky assets like Bitcoin, if you want to call it that. It does take a moment. There's a correlation chart for it. Look it up. Genius Act has also passed to yesterday. I covered that. It passed the Senate, and now it has to go and get approved by the House. So the US is finally regulating stablecoins. It's bigger than you think. Here's why the bill could reshape crypto, supercharge USDC and USDT, and it will unlock the next wave of adoption. So in simple terms, the US wants stablecoins to be issued under strict banking rules to protect users, prevent risks, and bring stablecoins into the regulated US financial system. All major stablecoin issuers must be federally licensed or state approved and meet strict transparency standards, which will put crypto dollars under real financial supervision. It's backed one-to-one, fully auditable. Stablecoins must be backed by ultra-safe assets like cash, US treasuries, and other liquid assets. I don't know if Bitcoin could be a part of that. I'm pretty sure it can be. Cardano was trying to do that. And I think actually USD Tether does hold a lot of Bitcoin. Anti-money laundering and consumer protection. All issuers must follow the Bank Secrecy Act, including Know Your Customer rules, anti-money laundering procedures, strong disclosures, treasury-level oversight, no more Wild West printing of unbacked tokens, right? I mean, it could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. It kind of defeats the purpose of decentralization. It paves the way for central bank digital currencies, but I guess it's a good thing that it's, you know, kind of getting regulated and more accepted, which that's kind of what we want for the crypto market anyways, more acceptance in everything, institutions, governments, banks, companies, whatever the case may be. Taming the risk of political corruption as well. Stablecoin issuers can't have ties to public officials. You know, president and family curiously excluded. Okay, that's pretty funny. Still a step forward in preventing political misuse. just to prevent, of course, insider trading, I guess, stuff like that. This is huge for Circle and Tether. USDC will become a fully US regulated digital dollar, and USDT is also preparing to issue a compliant US version. This is mainly done in European Union, I guess. USDT, that is. They both benefit from officially legal clarity, and it's a massive boost for institutional adoption, basically what I just mentioned. Big banks and corporations, those are next. The new law opens the door for, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Amazon, Walmart, Apple. Could all launch stable coins under the US regulation. And we're already kind of starting to see that little by little. So we could see a massive wave of entrance in 2025. It's good because you get regulatory clarity, brings stablecoins into the US banking system, makes it harder to ban, gives state licensed issuers passporting rights to operate nationwide. Big institutions can now participate without legal risk, more adoption likely, and one-to-one backing with audits increasing the trust in stablecoins and less risk of depegs, something that would have happened with, say, UST, right? Terra Luna's stablecoin, and why it failed and the whole project failed because they algorithmically backed it with their own token. And yeah, that was no good because they had to, either burn more tokens to mint new ones, or mint new tokens to burn the old ones. And once that got out of hand, there was just this infinite minting because they couldn't keep up with the one-to-one backpeg. And that's why not UST. UST was trying to stay at $1, but it couldn't. So you had to mint more Terra Luna. And ultimately, you just overinflated Terra Luna to the point where it went from $140 to like $0.000. So that's why, you need something good, right? Backing with something good. But like I said over here, US treasuries, or what else did they say? Cash, other liquid assets, right? Now, why stablecoins are bad? Or not stablecoins, but this whole regulation of it. Only banks and regulated entities can issue stablecoins, which is a massive barrier for crypto native players. Treasury and regulators can freeze or block assets. That's also, ruining decentralization, especially from foreign issuers. There could be severe penalties for unauthorized issuance. Could be up to $1 million a day and 5 years in prison. So you could go to jail for misuse. Anti-money laundering surveillance is required, which kills privacy, preserving stablecoins. RIP Monero. We'll talk about Monero later. It's also on the thumbnail there. It could crush decentralized or foreign stablecoins, other stuff like DAI, LUSD, Tether, if they don't comply. Because these are not from the United States, right? They do have US stablecoins, but it's not from the United States. So, too long didn't read. In summary, the US wants to bring stablecoins into the banking system. Only trusted, transparent, and tightly regulated players will survive. This will likely benefit major institutions and can kill off most unregulated stablecoins as well. There we go. Thank you so much. Great stuff. Moving on. Trump also, of course, is very in favor of all of this. He says that digital assets are the future and our nation is going to own it. He also hopes that the House will pass the Genius Act and get it to his desk as soon as possible, of course, to sign it into action. He posted this on Truth Social, saying that the Senate just passed an incredible bill that is going to make America the undisputed leader in digital assets. Nobody will do it better. It is pure genius, hence the name, the Genius Bill, the Genius Act. Digital assets are the future. Our nation is going to own it. We're talking about massive investment and big innovation. The House will hopefully move lightning fast and pass a clean Genius Act. Get it to my desk ASAP. No delays, no add-ons. So we'll see if that does happen. And of course, huge shout out to Cynthia Loomis for helping approve all of this stuff. She's been doing a great job. This is American brilliance at its best, and we're going to show the world how to win with digital assets like never before. And if you know the United States, you know it well, you know what other countries think about it, they will start copying what the United States does eventually. Speaking of the corporations adopting stablecoins, even from China, China's largest retailer, JD.com, which it's publicly traded on New York Stock Exchange, I'm pretty sure. They also plan to apply for a global stablecoin licensing to slash cross-border payment costs 90% and reduce settlement times to under 10 seconds. Bullish. More adoption from corporations. This is something separate. Tony G Co-Investment are announcing a purchase of 10,000 Hyperliquid tokens. I wonder if there's been a change in Hyperliquid. Do we even have it here? Hype? Yes, we do. Yeah, no change. All right, cool. So nothing burger. And now let's also talk about Coinbase. This did come out before, but it's been just so overshadowed by, well, I've been overshadowed by this whole Iran war that I just haven't had the time to talk about it. But Coinbase is releasing their Coinbase One card. It will be coming in fall 2025. Why is it pretty good? It's partnered with American Express, and you can earn up to 4% Bitcoin as cashback on every purchase. Now, that is wise. I have the Kronos card, Crypto.com, and they do give you also some cashback in their native Kronos token, which, I mean, it's a cool concept and everything. You have to pay more to get a higher return, right? You have to stake your money. You have to lock up and buy Kronos for a certain amount of time. Usually, I think it's 1 year. And over the years, they've been reducing the amount of rewards that you're getting because of the fact that Kronos is becoming way too inflationary, and it's also one of the reasons why we don't see the price rise as much anymore. And it's not even listed on BingX. That is just fantastic. I guess because it's a competitor, really. Yeah, the Crypto.com coin, if you recall. Like, you don't gotta be a genius to know, like, it's been struggling to pump back to what it was back in 2021 at its peak. And I saw this happen live. I was touching my phone while this, was pumping towards this high. November 26, 2021. I was at the mall and I'm like, should I buy more? I think I even got some, like, my brother to do it as well. And yeah, well, you know where it is today. So yeah, very inflationary, but they still got some good projects going on. Their blockchain, it's things that they're trying to improve it with. But the whole inflationary aspect of it, or they do have a max supply. That is a lie. I thought they didn't have a max supply. That it was unlimited. I guess not. We shall see then. But anyways, the point is using Bitcoin instead of a different token like Kronos. That would be much better for cashback. They also unveiled Coinbase payments. I also announced this before. The fact that Shopify was going to enable stablecoin payments. And apparently it's going to be done with Coinbase. It would allow merchants to accept 24/7 USDC. So this is also involving Circle, right? And the payments can be done globally with instant settlement, and it will all be done with Base blockchain. So that is great. And keep in mind the relationship that Coin now owns a big stake in Circle, Coinbase, and Circle pays Coinbase about 50% of their revenue. Something around those numbers. 50% of Circle revenues go to Coinbase. And we did see that, I probably spoiled this already, but Coinbase chart is pumping like crazy today specifically, but it mainly has to do with them seeking SEC approval for tokenized stock trading. That could be coming soon to Coinbase. It surged 16%, becoming the top S&P 500 gainer. Keep in mind that they are now in the S&P 500, so just even better for Coinbase. I still feel like, well, the pump is obviously deserved. It's possibly undervalued. Can still go much higher, in my opinion. Coinbase. And also the fact that, we'll talk about Circle as well. Is it CRCL? Yeah, it also had a big pump today. How much percent? 33%, okay. It's had a recent IPO, which I mentioned. It was originally starting around $30, right? But you had a lot of big investors buying in early, like BlackRock, and there was rumors that it could have been Coinbase as well, or XRP starting to buy a lot of Circle. Of course, Coinbase is in there for sure. And it just kept on increasing, right? And it's still increasing to this day. It broke $200. So off to a great start. And The fact that the Genius bill got passed, that was also bullish for Circle because it has to do with stablecoins specifically. So that is the main cause of its pump today. I would assume so, right? I did not even read the news. It doesn't even say here, but trust me, that is absolutely the reason. Get out. Cool. What else we got? All right, let's start talking about some not so great news. Zach XBT, of course, on the case again of hackings. Iranian crypto exchange Nobitex got hacked for $48 million. Funds were sent to a Tron wallet right over here. Zach XBT doing the research, and he reports that $81.7 million actually was hacked from the Iranian crypto exchange. I'm not reading all that. The hacker because it was Tron. That's pretty funny. Hey, maybe, right? Just conspiracy theory time. Trump and Tron project are very closely tied because Justin Sun, CEO of Tron, has invested millions into Trump's World Liberty Financial and is working closely with DJT, Trump Media Technologies, to, release their token of the World Liberty Financial and also Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. I think they already also filed for. Yeah, so there's that. And Iran apparently wants to assassinate Trump or something. There was claims about that from Israel and Netanyahu, them, I guess, trying to provoke United States to join the war, right? Oh, these guys are trying to kill me? I'm going to go to war against Iran then. No, but... and then maybe Trump said, you know what, Tron, go hack these guys' crypto. I don't want Iran to be the #1 crypto place in the world. Not like they were anyway. But hey, maybe that's... It was sent to a Tron wallet, so, pretty funny stuff. U.S. Department of Justice also cracking down on this. Europol as well from Europe. They've taken down Archetype Market. Cool way to spell it. It was a darknet platform that exclusively accepted Monero payments. Wow. This reminds me a lot of the Silk Road, right? The Silk Road seizing from the FBI. Also a dark web website where people would will send, I guess, illegal substances, drugs, and like weapons and I think stuff like that. I'm not too familiar with it. Hence why Ross Ulbricht got imprisoned, and hence why United States has a large portion of the almost 200,000 bitcoins that they currently own today in their Federal Reserve, by the way. It's official. They found another deep web website, dark web website. What do you even call those? Whatever. And they were using Monero, which it's quite wise to use Monero. Monero is probably the most private, the most decentralized coin that there is. It's even been endorsed by people like John McAfee, right? The person who cares about his privacy the most. If you know the story of John McAfee, a guy who made the antivirus, that guy. Yeah, full endorsement from him. A lot of criminals do use Monero, right? So, I mean, it's just because of what Bitcoin was supposed to be, right? This most private, this most decentralized way to send payments to people, which, that's why it was a thing with Silk Road back in the day, back in 2013, whatever it was. Yeah, well, people are improving, I guess. World's first spot XRP ETF was just launched on the Toronto Stock Exchange. What is it called, I wonder? Can I even find it? I do want to find it. Significant step in legitimizing XRP. So yeah, we don't really care about Canada. We care about this happening in the United States. It's already happened in Brazil as well. I'm pretty sure I covered. I want to know what it is though. I want to find it. 3IQ. That's pretty funny. Where is their ticker? I want to find it. Toronto Stock Exchange Canada spot XRP ETF ticker. Is it already live or what? 3IQ introduces XRP ETF. It goes live today. The ticker is XRPP. All right, cool. Let me find it on TradingView. XRPP. Purpose XRP ETF. Is it this? Is this by 3IQ? It's on the Toronto Stock Exchange, so yeah, I'm assuming it's this one. Yeah, it is. It just came out today. And it's already down. Haha. Market's closed. It doesn't even tell you the percentage that it's down. That's crazy. So I'm assuming we opened here and we closed right over here. It's a 2% drop. Did XRP almost drop 2%? Not really. I don't know. Depends on... This is only 2 4-hour candles, right? XRP we're looking at... don't make me do math again. 4 times 6. 6 4-hour candles. Which would have been back over here. I don't know. As we've been rising the past couple hours, it's actually kind of green today. Alright, well, we shall keep track on this. I mean, hey, if you're in Canada, like me, you can invest into XRP legally, I guess, on your broker, if they offer ETF trading. That's cool. When will the United States get in on the action? Speaking of Canada, by the way, we fell into a negative replacement rate. There are more deaths than births in Q1 2025. Nice. Deaths were 94,000 people, and births were 88,000 people. Our population is in decline. Right. Great news. No, not really. It's terrible news. Don't care. Didn't ask. Alright, that is all for today. Let's move on to this. How are we doing? I'm still prepared. I'm still doing fine, I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'll drop this to 105. No, I think 108 is still far enough. I don't think commissions will push this too far down. I hope not, at least. Funding rate's still looking like about $6. I'm not going to do all that math. I could do math to figure out where I could be after, like... I'm going to sleep for 8 hours, right? So I could calculate that by 2 is just $12 in commission. And if I'm reducing my margin by $12, where would that put my liquidation price, right? In order to cover for that amount. Yeah, I'm not going to do the math, like I said. But hey, you get the point. 106 should still be a safe amount. And I don't think Arrow is just going to continue rising, right? We already had a 20% rise up at its peak. It's reduced down to 17%. Maybe it just reverses from here. If it does, do the opposite. A 17% drop from my entry point would give me a 543 profit. I don't think I will specifically close there. I just put that take profit there because we have a pivot level there. Super trend is a little further down, lower than that. And I think this is the uptrend that we are currently following. So a pullback towards down here is absolutely reasonable if it is still in its uptrend and continues higher over time. It's at least what I would expect. Alright, so I'll keep you guys updated on how this trade goes. Like I said, I'll maybe post it on my Discord as well for you guys to keep track. If you're interested in joining, let me know. Anyway, that'll be all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching. And what is happening tomorrow? What is happening tomorrow? Probably nothing, is it? I don't know, maybe we got nuked by Iran. That would be pretty cool. Where is Thursday? Wow, nothing is happening Thursday. Wednesday just skips to Friday. And nothing is happening Friday either. Monday, nothing happening. Tuesday, literally what a boring week. Wednesday, nothing. Thursday, GDP. Okay, maybe Thursday we'll get some good stuff. GDP and PCE Friday. Next week, though, not tomorrow. Tomorrow, the rest of this week, and the beginning of next week, nothing's going to happen. The only thing we're going to be paying attention to, again, is just this war thing. Will we get involved as the United States? And, or will there be peace talks, and will these guys chill out for once in 72 years? We shall see. Stay tuned for next time. Alright, now I'm leaving for real. Thanks for tuning in.